Seventies. Sutuvacha. Sutta Goswami said, Dvaipayana Shaka, friend of Vyasadeva, to then, evam thus, Maitreya, Bhagavan, worshipful, tata, in that way, praha, spoke, idam, this, viduram, to Vidura, prita, being pleased, anviksikyam, about transcendental knowledge, prachoditaha, being asked. Translation. Sri Sutta Goswami said, the most powerful sage, Maitreya, was a friend of Vyasadeva. Being encouraged and pleased by Vidura's inquiry about transcendental knowledge, Maitreya spoke as follows. Purport. Question and answers are very satisfactorily dealt with when the inquirer is bona fide. It's a little loud now. Less loud. When the inquirer is bona fide and the speaker is also authorized. Here Maitreya is considered a powerful sage, and therefore he is also described as Bhagavan. This word can be used not only for the Supreme Personality of Godhead, but for anyone who is almost as powerful as the Supreme Lord. Maitreya is addressed as Bhagavan because he was spiritually far advanced. He was a personal friend of Dvaipayan Vyasadeva, a literary incarnation of the Lord. Maitreya was very pleased with the inquiries of Vidura because they were the inquiries of a bona fide advanced devotee. Thus Maitreya was encouraged to answer. When there are discourses on transcendental topics between devotees of equal mentality, the questions and answers are very fruitful and encouraging. Om Ajnanatimarandasya Gyanandana Salakaya Shakshurun Militam Yana Tasmai Sri Gurave Namaha Shri Chaitanya Manobhistam Stapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamayam Dadati Svam Padantikam Vandeham Sigaro Siyuta Padakamalam Sigurun Vaisnavamscha Shri Rupam Sagrajatam Sahagana Raghunatan Vitam Tam Sajivam Satvaitam Savadutam Parijana Saitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padan Sahagana Lalita Sivisakan Vitamscha He Krishna Karuna Sindhu Dina Bandhu Jagatpate Gopesa Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostute Tapta Kanchana Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Visabhanu Sutta Devi Pranamami Hari Priye Vanchakalpatarubhya cha kripa sindubhyev cha patitanam pavanebhyo vaisnavebhyo namo namaha Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shivasadi Gaura Bhaktavinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. We recall from our earlier readings that at the time, just before leaving the planet, when Krishna was personally instructing Uddhava and answering all his questions, and Uddhava was very learned. Uddhava was the disciple of Brihaspati, and Brihaspati is the spiritual master of the demigods. So we can appreciate that Uddhava was a highly learned personality. It is stated that in Dwarka sometimes, one second, Nitai, I forgot the medication. It is said that in Dwarka sometimes Krishna and Uddhava had conversations that were so complicated, referring to different slokas or speaking in Sanskrit, that it was like a secret language. No one could understand what they were talking about. Right? No one could follow it. That's how learned Uddhava was. So when Uddhava was asking the questions, he was asking very pertinent questions based on knowledge. Those questions are known as the Uddhava Gita, which we find in the 11th canto, the question and answer stand. Right? So Vidura was now inquiring from Maitreya because Maitreya had been present. He had been present at that time. He heard everything. And of course Maitreya was a highly qualified sage, so he could also remember what he had heard and comprehend what he had heard. Therefore Maitreya was certainly an authority in Siddhanta, because those were questions all about various aspects of Siddhanta. So Uddhava had like sort of nailed it down, and Maitreya, he had all those answers. But of course, it is also said that Uddhava himself was more ecstatic. He was more filled with love than Maitreya. Maitreya was a devotee, but he was a little bit more on the philosophy side, right? And a little less from the heart. But Uddhava was very much from the heart. But Uddhava did not want to instruct Vidura because Vidura was older. And he didn't feel it was appropriate to instruct an elder person. And also, in the Vedic culture, these things were very much considered. Because an elder person might sometimes think that, well, that's a little simple the way that's presented. When one has experience in life and one listens to people who are much younger, then sometimes the way they speak, you think like, they have no idea. So in order to overcome that hurdle, right, and that Vidura might not become affected by that, therefore Uddhava directed him to Maitreya. So that was more etiquette than that Uddhava himself was thinking like that. But Uddhava was strictly following the Vedic injunctions. So the Vedic injunctions are giving us a society where everything is very balanced and everything is everything is to be done proper, very proper. We can see that for various activities one should face a different direction, right? So it's you cannot just sit. No, you have to. It depends on what you're doing, and you have to face a certain direction. So Vedic culture is very intricate. Of course, Srila Prabhupada explains the Vedic culture is shaping people in a very intricate way. Thanks. The Vedic culture is shaping people in a very intricate way, And now I'm going to try to do multitasking. Maybe I will not. Because I'm not good at it. Just because I have to break these things in half. Okay, sorry. I spaced it out. Okay, we're back. So the Vedic culture is a culture that very carefully shapes people compared to the way a goldsmith is working with a little hammer, little tools to shape ornaments. It's very difficult. Whereas the Sankirtan is described to the hammer of the blacksmith. One big blow, boff, done, all in shape. So that's good for us, because if we have to get too Vedic, most of us would find it a little difficult. You have to know on which days you're allowed to shave and not allowed to shave. You have to sleep in a certain direction. For example, we all know if you sleep to the east, it's good for spiritual life. If you sleep to the west, that's good for material enjoyment. If you sleep with your head to the south, that's good for a long life. If you sleep with your head to the north, you're shorting the duration of life. All these things. Vedic culture is full of stuff like that, you know. Yeah. If you start to live like that, and then Vastu and everything, and then like, yeah, complex, very complex, but maybe also attractive to some, right? And the argument is sometimes given, why not? Like Vastu, right? Of course, Srila Prabhupada, on many occasions, showed that he was quite transcendental to Vastu. Right? For example, in Mayapur, when he built the first building, everything was in that first building. And the deities, right, the deities were on the ground floor. And above it was people were living, right? So, you know, you can't, Vedic, according to Vastu, you can't do that. But, you know, Prabhupada was practical. But then again, if we can use it, should we use it? And some are really convinced that it's very important also for devotees, and walls are being built in the middle of a garden too, so because, you know, there has to be a wall there. Otherwise, all the money leaks out or something like that. All these things are very intricate. It may be true. It may be true. But of course, the old Krishna will protect us. Lord Chaitanya will protect us. He will intervene, is also there. How much time do we have for these things? For example, flood relief, earthquake relief. Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur said, we have no time for such things. We have no time for such things. We are doing the greatest welfare work, the spreading of the Sankirtan movement. So yes, so the point is, when we are so absorbed in the transcendental mission of Sankirtan, then all these things will not affect us. But if we're not so absorbed, then they may affect us. Like that, yes. We see how Srila Prabhupada was completely depending on Krishna. For example, if we think how Srila Prabhupada started in New York, right? It wasn't at all based on sound material calculation. He was didn't have a place to stay. Okay, that's already a problem. But somehow or other, he created interest and goodwill that people wanted to help him. So, okay, they let him stay with someone on a loft, but the guy turned out to be a little schizophrenic, and so Prabhupada didn't stay there. And then they arranged for the storefront, Matchless Gifts. But everybody scraped money together for the first month's rent, and that was it. He didn't know where the second month rent was going to come from. How was it going to be possible? But Krishna will provide. And Prabhupada was keeping accounts in those days, and he wasn't wasting anything. And if you look at the accounts, these are accounts of cents, right? He's keeping accounts of cents. I don't know if you keep accounts of cents. So he's keeping like 35 cents spent on the like cents, or $2.60, like that, keeping accounts of the cents. And in this way, very small amounts were recorded in his accounts. So Prabhupada was not wasting, but at the same time he was also relying on Krishna, that Krishna would provide. And Krishna did provide, as we see. It just took off from there. And Prabhupada was never thinking, I'm limited by my means. He was looking at buildings that were very expensive when he didn't have anything, right? I mean, he had nothing, and he looked at buildings that were quite expensive. And the money, yes, that will come. Of course, he was also materially expert, right? He was very expert. I mean, he knew how to bring down prices, and like in Detroit, he got that Fisher mansion, that huge mansion, for a very cheap amount. And or he would go to Japan to bargain with the printers, and Tamal Krishna Maharaj would begin, and he would argue with the printers and offer a very low price. And then after about 10 minutes, Prabhupada would come and say, how can you offer them so little? That is not proper, And then he thought, like, no, we have to settle this. And then Prabhupada offered a price which was lower than the price of Tamal Krishna Maharaj. They're just like, they're so bewildered, and they took it. They just did it. That was amazing. Amazing. So Prabhupada was not basing himself on just mundane logic, was not basing his activities on just Vedic culture. Prabhupada was doing whatever was favorable for the Supreme Lord, based on Rupa Goswami's instruction, Vaidiki Lokiki Vapu Yat Kriya Kriyate Mune Hari Sevana Kulaeva, that whether it is Vedic or whether it is mundane, we do whatever is Hari Seva Anakul. And we see our Sankirtan movement is based on that principle. But again, why not? Why not doing some little puja or something like that? So I'm not. One can see. We have to do something material, isn't it? We have to live. So why are we following Varnashram? Because Varnashram is a system to organize the material world. It's not that Varnashram is so important to us that we are going to follow it to the letter. And in every detail, you have to follow every aspect of Varnashram. That's not how Vaishnavas follow Varnashram. It's secondary to us, it's a support structure, but it is a material way of life. And what are we going to do? If we don't live by Varna ashram, we have to go by an alternative. And what is that? That's then of a lower culture. Yeah. That's then of a human culture, a human invention. Human inventions are not as good as the invention of the Supreme Lord. So in this way, we are looking at a balance between Vedic culture and practical culture. Here in the purport, we also find a reference about Maitreya, who is described as Bhagavan. Generally, the word Bhagavan is reserved for the Supreme Lord. Bhagavan means he who is is the possessor. Van is referring to possessor, and Bhaga of all auspiciousness. So Krishna has all auspiciousness. Aisvaryasya samagrasya viryasya yasasa sriya jnanavairakyush chaiva sanam bhagam itingana. Krishna has 6 opulences. All wealth, all beauty, all knowledge, all renunciation, all strength, all fame. And no one else can really have these same qualities. But a powerful sage is the representative of the Supreme Lord. The Lord eats through the mouth of the Brahmana. The Lord may also speak through the mouth of the Brahmana. So in this way, a powerful sage is the representative of the Supreme Lord. So sometimes the representative was also referred to as Bhagavan. We are careful about this. Whereas the Vedic culture was a culture which could afford maybe such things, because there was a lot of knowledge as to who was the Supreme Personality of Godhead, who was not the Supreme Personality of Godhead. But we see that as Vedic culture was going down, as the quality of knowledge was diminishing, and as Vedic culture became more and more external ritual, then also gradually the understanding of who the Supreme Personality of Godhead truly is diminished. Therefore, it's dangerous to use this title Bhagavan, especially in this age when knowledge is difficult to assimilate. Who is learned in Vedic literature, even in our movement? Really learned. I mean, very few are really, really learned. It's not so easy to be really learned. Who is really spending so many hours studying books and systematically, not just reading, but systematically studying them? And it's rare. So therefore, we are seeing that a lot becomes external ritual. Why are we doing all these things? Why? Why are we shaving our heads? Why don't we have matted locks, brahmacharis? Right? Have you not read that brahmacharis have matted locks? Yeah. Some are going, wow, that's cool. The dreads are back. But Lord Chaitanya would shave, and when Sanatana Goswami came, after having escaped from the jail of the Nawab Hussain Shah, Sanatana Goswami came with long hair and beard. He was looking like a Muslim dervish, right, like some sort of fakir, and he was seated outside the house of where Chaitanya Mahaprabhu stayed, and they didn't see. Said Chaitanya Mahaprabhu said, "Go look. There is Sanatan is at the door." They looked everywhere. Said, "No, didn't see him anything. No, he wasn't there." Was there anyone at all? Yes, some Muslim fucker was just next. Yes, bring him in. It was Sanatan. But Chaitanya Mahaprabhu told him to shave. So Prabhupada would quote that, right? and say, that everyone should shave. And when they didn't shave, then Prabhupada would say the hippie tendencies were still there. What to do? So, all right, Srila Prabhupada followed that standard, which he took inspiration from Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu and followed that standard. So, when we read about the matted locks in the Bhagavatam, the brahmachari's matted locks, then we're not following that. Because the order of the Guru supersedes the injunction of the Vedas. So the order of the Guru is very, very powerful. This comes up in Chaitanya Charitamrita when Govinda arrives. Govinda comes to Lord Chaitanya. Govinda is the disciple of Ishvarapuri. So he's a godbrother of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. And Govinda comes and he says, our spiritual master, before he left this world, instructed that I should join Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu and become his personal servant. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu said, but how can I accept the service of my godbrother? He said, then on the other hand, it's the order of my spiritual master. Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya, what do you think? Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya said, well, scriptures say that indeed the order of the spiritual master is very important and that it supersedes the injunctions of the scripture. And the order of the spiritual master cannot be refused. When Parasuram was asked to kill his mother because she had committed an offense then he did it. He did it. So, okay. Are we ready? Of course, then his father was a Brahmana. He revived the mother. And she didn't remember that she had been killed by her son. So everything was a happy family again. No problems. Absolutely no complications. But a bit drastic if you see all that. Right? Anyway, Sarvabhauma was giving that as an example that the order of the spiritual master must be followed. Then Chaitanya Mahaprabhu accepted Govinda as his disciple, and not as disciple, as his servant, and then Govinda is just completely acting like the servant, and here and there and everywhere. So, quite amazing, quite amazing. Many points are there. So we are, the order of the spiritual master is the first and foremost. So the order of our founder Acharya is the first and foremost, and that has to be right. Therefore, our duty is to be transparent to Srila Prabhupada. It's like somehow or other, the times have changed, right? We're not living in the 70s anymore. It's a different world today. Very different world today, actually. People are different. Like sometimes I ask the brahmacharis, was there ever a time when there was no phone in your life? And most of them go like, no, there always were phones. Always like I grew up, there was one phone in the house on the wall, and it was quite high, at least from my child's perspective. It was unreachable, yeah, until you knew how to move a chair. But by then there was a lock on the disc. You know, you couldn't dial. Yeah, but that was it. They had a lock on the dialing disc, so you couldn't dial. Even when you went with the chair, I tried. But it's only one phone, right? So it was, that was it, you know. People would stand in the corridor having a conversation. It wasn't exactly inviting to have a serious, long conversation, you know, like, it's then, of course, you know, more progress was made. And then we had 2 phones with a switch. You could switch on upstairs and downstairs. And then you got these portable phones in the house, you know, with a big antenna and walking around with this thing, you know. You could, but that was a big problem because it would ring and everyone, where is it, you know? Where is the phone? Yes. That was not so popular, actually. You could never find your phone. Anyway, these days, you know, we know what happened. And it's getting quite serious. I was reading about this, the richest man in the world, Elon Musk, right? And okay, he wants to put people on other planets. He wants to create communities on other planets. And he has this, he has spaceships that are going out into space, and you know, he's doing it. He's using his money for it. He also has a place, a laboratory, where they are implanting chips in the brains of animals. And they've done it to a pig and many monkeys and this, that. And there was some drama because they feel it's like, you know, many of the monkeys died. So it's like, just put chips in their brains. But the whole idea is, Elon Musk was saying, the artificial intelligence is progressing so much. In order for mankind to stay ahead of the robots, we're going to have chips implanted. I mean, what? This is the richest man in the world, and he's thinking about we have to stay ahead of the robots. And he's serious about it. He's putting chips in people's brain. That means people become robots, right? The robots won. It's pretty obvious, you know. And it's pretty scary too, because who controls the chip? Somebody with a computer behind the chip. You feel tired today. You feel like working. Extremely scary if you think about these things. Anyway, so fun is coming. If it's up to Elon Musk, right? I hope that there will be no Musks and no masks and no all these things. I hope that things will just go back to a more natural way of life, that we go back to the life that Krishna has envisioned for us and take the austerity of living a more natural lifestyle and cultivate Krishna consciousness. And that we can bring back a culture, a Vedic culture. That is a strong argument for us to develop culture. So although we have to stay loyal to Srila Prabhupada, how are we going to live? If we are the Sankirtan devotees and we're transcendental to anything, so we're transcendental to the phone, right? We're transcendental to the chip in our head. We just, you know, use it for the Bhagavatam. Put your Bhagavatam on your chip, you know. That's like, quote a slok or 1,000, you know? Yeah, just like 1,000 sloks. A slok for any occasions. How do you do that? Got a chip. Yeah. So we can engage everything in the service of the Lord. Can we? I've thought about this, and I've given the example of a car. And now let's say a car is actually quite a aggressive machine, if you look at it. Right? First of all, there's an explosion motor. And there's this incredibly explosive fuel there, and it's all the time exploding inside the engine, and then the thing runs and it gets really hot and this and that, right? And then they make a little partition, a nice dashboard, and you have like a great little screen on it, you know, like Gormahan even has like a tablet now for navigation. It's really snazzy. Yeah. Yeah. He drove me around yesterday. Wow. That's a sexy car. And anyhow, so that's it. You sit inside, you have soft music playing, ding, 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 and the chairs are comfy, and the thing slides on the road. But in front of you, there is this engine, which is like exploding, nasty stuff is burning up in there. Right? It's like, what to say? So then, you see how aggressive these machines are. And it's like, you see a few pictures of a few accidents, and you're surprised that the people are still walking around, right? I mean, you see, it's like, in Australia they have so many rabbits, and then, rabbit number 1 comes running at your car just from the side. Okay, you brake, huge. Missed rabbit number 1, and the wife, or it's the husband, the partner. I'm not sure which one it is, which one goes first, but the partner runs under your car. Yeah. Oh my God. We lived on this farm, and then you had to go into town. 10 rabbits. Killed 10 rabbits on the way. Oh God, it was really hellish. Yeah. Out in the outback, mate, not downtown Melbourne. Righty. I was over, Mildura? I was behind Mildura, 80 k's out in the outback, mate, on the Murray River. Huh? The old farm that we used to have out there. I used to stay on that farm. Right. How you going? Yeah. 10,000 hectares. 40 by 25 kilometers. It was like a little, like a province, right? They could make a little country, and then they sold it. Big mistake. We could have made a country there. Yeah, with our own money and everything. Yeah. Yeah. Yes. Prabhupada had ideas like that. In Mayapur, Prabhupada wanted to have Chaitanyas. Yes. Yeah, instead of money, he wanted to have Chaitanyas. And anybody who comes into Mayapur has to change their money for Chaitanyas. Yes. 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 Anyhow, so I forgot why. Now that I took these pills, I can't remember anything. Why did I tell about this farm? Aggressive cars, yes. Aggressive. Yes, and I was given an example of driving into town and with this ugly car. And so the point is this, that there are many products of Ugra Karma. And these products of Ugra Karma, they can be engaged in the service of the Lord, but they still stay Ugra. They're still Ugra. You know, you can use a welding machine for the Lord, right? But if you don't wear a mask, you go blind. Right? And so on, you know. So many, we can use all this Ugra Karma, chemicals and this, that, in the service of the Lord, but we get transcendental benefit, and at the same time, all the Ugra is there. It's still Ugra. It's still got that aggression in there. Srila Prabhupada talks about factories, I'm sorry to say this in Germany, but he calls them the dungeons of the demons. And Ugra Karma calls horrible works meant to destroy the world, in the purports of the first canto. So, yeah, we are looking at a way of life which is centered around transcendental knowledge, and where the material needs are solved very nicely and simply. Right? And Vedic culture offers that. So let us look for that. Transcendental knowledge must be in the center of the community. And for the rest, if we can live simple, that will help, because less distraction. But for Sankirtan, we use karma, we use cars to get rid of cars. We use computers to get rid of computers. We use phones to get rid of phones. You should understand. We use it to drive it out of the world. We fight fire with fire. We fight the Ugra Karma using the Ugra Karma tools. But it's not the goal. Eventually, we want to get rid of them. Back to the bullocks. Imagine that. Gosh. Gotta work with your hands. No more keyboards. You know, keyboard bullock. No, it's a real, I mean, it sounds romantic, bullocks, right? So on that same farm, I was living on this farm, and I lived next to, first of all, I lived next to the bull. I learned I learned the language of bulls because I'm good at languages, right? So the bull was going like, he had a few varieties. And then there was a field that had a hill that was going a little bit up. And I'm walking up that field, and suddenly there is this nice bull calf, named Bhima, right? Nice name. Bhima comes running from behind a tree, and he attacks me. Not just a little bit, full speed, He comes storming down the hill, and just bashes into me, hits my arm, and my arm was like dangling like that. I couldn't lift my arm after that. Then with the other arm, I raised the stick and I chased Bhima. Because I know, if I let him get away with this, he'll try to lord it over every day. That's how it is. So it's not just all easy. Nice, shanti, Vedic culture. I mean, these bulls are intense. Yeah. It's in some ways more difficult than a computer or a phone. Anyhow, let us see what will happen when there's Vedic culture. But eventually, Prabhupada said, in a few generations, Prabhupada said, the Brahmanas will again light the fire by mantra. Yeah. Well, I don't know how many is a few. 10? 20? It's not so, that's a few, isn't it? But it will come. Okay, I'll stop now. Any questions, any comments? Yes, Bashar.
Hare Krishna Maharaj, thank you for the lecture. Question regarding the Vedic culture, we see that they were always materially opulent and properly situated. So it's not like they were aiming only for spiritual happiness, but also materially they were, they had everything. So, but we read in Prabhupada's books, and he's instructing us almost not to endeavor for material happiness, not to endeavor for economic development, and these things. He says that they are already fixed for everybody. Like it's the fate of everybody, that they are fixed. But at the same time, in other places there is a contradictory statements. So could you say something about this?
First of all, you made a few statements, that I don't know if I read them in the same way or understand them in the same way as you do. Like that in Vedic culture, everyone was opulent. I don't see it like that. I see that wherever there was shortage, the kings were responsible, and they were providing for the citizens. So, but there definitely were also times of struggle, times of shortage, and of course it depends how far you go back. I mean, if you look at the time of Lord Ramachandra, then it was seen a drought or something like that would be, or a flood would be seen as the result of impiety. So there must be something wrong with the king or something, But as the yugas are getting more and more disturbed, from Dwapara Yuga to Kali Yuga, Kali Yuga, obviously there was poverty and all these things, and kings, Vedic culture starts to very much decline in Kali Yuga. So it depends which yuga we look at Vedic culture to begin with. Now, as far as not providing for material needs and to just focus on spiritual things and everything comes automatically. Yes, Krishna does care and provide, but Srila Prabhupada also started businesses. He started Spiritual Sky, an incense factory. It's not that Prabhupada was not in favor of having some Vaishya activity, and that there should be. This is what is underdeveloped. Like this farm needs some good Vaishyas, not just Vaishyas who make money for themselves, but who just create a whole business model for the whole community. This place needs a business model. I saw, like in Denmark, we had this place called Bauneholm, right? It was nice, some nice buildings in the countryside with an acre and a half of land. So not a lot of land, but there was a nice building with a courtyard in the middle, so 4 buildings like that. And then at one point the devotees didn't know what to do with it anymore, and they sold it. And then the man who bought it, he turned it into a business and a guest facility, and he cleaned up. He made millions of dollars. And it happens many times, that ISKCON doesn't have a business plan. So we need some business people, some Vaishyas. Let there be Vaishyas. And Prabhupada is not against that. It's necessary. Varna ashram very much means also that. People who know how to make money. But who also give, right? The Vaishyas are charitable. It's not like sit on the money and suck the labors dry. But we do need. So I think that, but spiritual culture must be in the foreground. If you read about the city of Kazi, which was, by the way, destroyed by Krishna Sudarshan Chakra, but it was a very opulent city, and in the city there were 30,000 lecturing platforms. So can you imagine, a whole city had 30,000 lecturing platforms with different brahmanas who just give lectures there all the time. And I think about it, no TV, nothing, no electronics. So even when I went to India in the early 70s, then at that time you would see at night many people gathering, reading some Ramayana or some kirtans or these things going on at night. So the spiritual culture must be strong, but the business must also be strong, very strong. This is a gold mine, this place. But we're not advertising. We have no guest facility. Anyway. Yeah. Anybody else? Govinda Dev will say something about Vedic culture. He likes Vedic culture.
No, my question is about how the instruction of the guru supersedes the scriptures. Because in a Bhakti program we learned that the way to make sure the instruction of the guru is correct is to make sure if it's in consonance with Guru Sadhu Shastra.
Yeah.
So how is it that still...
There you go, Baba. You don't learn... It seems you don't learn everything in the Bhakti program. Maybe we should give a seminar called What You Don't Learn in the Bhakti Program. Yeah, it's in the Bhagavatam, what can I say, right? It's in the Chaitanya Charitamrita, both. So it's very much there, and it's emphasized, and so yes, not that the guru is constantly superseding the scripture, but the guru's business is to represent the scripture, yes, and to always to strictly act according to the injunction of the scripture, but sometimes according to time, place, and circumstance, he may make an adjustment, and that is also his right and prerogative. See, that's why doctoring yourself will not work, and because the guru will sort of emphasize, will sort of adjust a little for the disciple. It's like. Yeah, I have one disciple who is like terminally ill and in the last stages, and now struggling to chant 16 rounds. What am I going to say now? Am I going to say, you must chant your 16 rounds till your last breath? But I know from my own experience that it doesn't work like that. Because when I was severely injured, someone thought, and I was conscious again after having been unconscious, someone brought my beads. And I lost, thinking, you should chant on the beads. And I lost them in the ocean of the bed. They disappeared, and I could not find them anymore. And I remember for hours I was looking for the beads. Where are the beads? Where are my beads? Where are my beads? Where are my beads? Disappeared in the ocean of the bed. And yeah, so sometimes one cannot chant 16 rounds. Then what to do? Then what to do? So then the spiritual master could say, and if someone is on the deathbed, the last days, and in complete anxiety about not chanting 16 rounds, you might just say, anyway, chant just as much as you can. And just to give the person some relief, Otherwise it's just stressing out to the max. Okay, just relax and just do what you can. It's okay. I could imagine one could adjust at that time, you see. We don't hear that Srila Prabhupada chanted 16 rounds at that time. Anyway, use an example. So, time, place, and circumstance can sometimes demand that things are adjusted. The matted locks is adjusted. Some have one matted lock.
My question was also pointed towards because the way it was presented to us when we were baptized was that a guru is 100% bona fide because he's representing the scripture. Yes. So that a way to check if a guru might be not bona fide or might be deviating was the scriptures will be the gold standard, so to say, in that sense.
Yeah. And now you see, dear Bhakti program followers, that there is something else to it. And that the guru has a prerogative to sometimes, according to time, place, and circumstance, according to his judgment, make adjustments. It's said, generally speaking, that will be in detail and not in principle. But, then you have something that even goes a step further. Yeah, there's a diary of Satsuru Maharaj called, I think it's called the Diary of the 70s. Right? It's an interesting book. Because he starts with, in the diary, somewhere in 72 or something. And he goes on till after 77 also. Right? Till the early, up to 1980 or something. So the book covers also the transition period. So it's an interesting book. And in there, the topic of Apadharma comes up. And Apadharma, is the religious principle which is the exception to the rule. The plane is in difficulty, it is struggling, and somehow or other it lands just in the ocean, in the Pacific, and there's very few survivors, but somehow you're one of them. Now you're gonna land on this island, and there's only 2 of you who have survived. Now, it's a bit of a rocky island. It's dry, but there are birds. Now, you start with your friend a big debate whether we're going to eat the birds or not. I says, no, Prabhu, they can't eat birds, That's against the principles. Say, well, what to do? We're starving, we have to eat something. What to do? So, my question is, what are you going to do? Are you going to... I'm asking everyone, I'm not asking anyone. Let's see if there are any volunteers. Who would vote in favor of eating the bird?
Not on the first day. I would eat
the eggs. That's how it starts. That's how it starts. The first day you eat the eggs. It's not a lot of eggs, You'll be hungry, You'll be hungry. But then after you've eaten the eggs, you go like, how about the source of the eggs. Okay, and who will not eat the bird? Yeah, I'm voting. I will not eat the bird. You see, we are divided over this eating of the bird in emergency. So now, what to do? Satsuru Maharaj describes how he brings it up with Prabhupada. Would you like to know what Prabhupada said? Then I'll tell you that in the next lecture, okay? Well, Srila Prabhupada said that that one can, that apadharma, breaking the normal injunctions, can be done with the permission of the spiritual master. So, yeah.
I think Srila Prabhupada told Shyamasundar, or who was it? Who was in preaching in Russia, if there's no Harikesh, yeah. If there's no vegetables, if you just to continue preaching, you can eat meat.
So that was Harikesh. Yeah. Was that for us also? Was that a personal instruction or a general instruction? It's a big thing, eating meat. Now, was that a personal instruction or a general one? But Harikesh didn't do it, by the way. Yeah. He ate only potatoes. And I remember he came to Vrindavan and we gave him samosas, and they were potato samosas. And he took a bite, you know. I was in charge of serving the gurus at the time, and he took a bite, and he goes, "Kartoffeln!" Oh no, not Kartoffeln! Can't you put something else inside? Yeah. Anyway, so many difficult questions, right? But I mean, yeah, the bird. Eat the bird or not the bird? So yeah, if you eat the birds, then you're breaking the principles. You're breaking your vows. Yeah. Difficult. So there are many dilemmas, but this, yeah, the spiritual master has the final word about apadharma. According to the diary of the 70s. That's what Prabhupada said. Yeah. Finito. No? Vito?
Sorry. So the conclusion is in this example with the bird that when the guru is not the second person on the island, so when the guru is not the second person on the island who can tell you, okay, let's eat birds, you should not eat the bird? Or?
Yeah, or you can get a license in advance. You know, it's like after initiation, they sort of, you know, ask him all those questions, you know, like a contract, you know. In case of a plane crash, you know, in time, you know, can we eat a bird? It's just like all these things. Yeah. So make sure you're covered, you know. Krishna will if Krishna wants you to live, then you live. If Krishna wants you to die, then just die. That's my approach. Okay, thank you very much. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Peacock feathers in the garland. Wow. Come. And grapes as well. Yeah, come. No hut. Hey, Nick.